Hello, and welcome to Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. My name is Meagan Thompson-Mann, and this is my guest co-host.
Hi, I'm Rylan, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Of course. She is also our fantastic producer. She has saved both me and our absent co-host, Kirk, on more occasions than I care to recall, even after only 4 episodes. Kirk forgot that he was going away on vacation and thus is not with us. We are taking the line that we still love and care about him. Secretly, though,
How dare he?
how dare he step away? And how dare he forget? We did have a great episode teed up about the querying process that we will be handling in the next episode. Today, we are going to be talking about writing contests and whether they're a legitimate path to publication or just a really expensive waste of time seeking validation. But before we get into that, we're going to do a little bit of catch up. I continue to chop away on my first novel that I've been querying. This ends now. I have somehow managed to chop about 6,000 words so far. In this round of editing, probably have another 3,000 to go before I start rewriting, but I am creating a, I think, tighter, hopefully more marketable book. I did get a rejection this week of the very form variety, and it only took about 120 days to get to me, so fantastic. My work in progress, Surface Tension, is regretfully on hold, but it continues to haunt me. And Rylan is going to talk about her project, which the bits I've read, I have absolutely adored. So I'd love to hear her talk more about it.
So, I read and write a lot of horror. The novel that I'm writing right now is a horror. I have about 15,000 words of it so far. It's based on a screenplay that I wrote. So, I kind of have a blueprint already for where it was going to go, but I have also heavily replotted it and replotted it and replotted it. I was making a lot of progress for a while, and then I decided to go back in and take out like a major piece of it.
I've been there.
All the dominoes. Yeah.
What's it like taking a work that's meant for the screen and refashioning it into something for the page?
It seemed hard at first. When I write screenplays, I write them not as a piece of work by itself, but as something that's a middleman to something else. So I wasn't necessarily focusing on like beautiful prose, and there's not a lot of interiority because that just can't translate to the screen. It was very bare bones.
So it's like a crash course in show, not tell.
Yes. It was a good transition. It was fun. It's been nice slowing everything down. Screenplays, you got to cram everything into like 90 pages. It's all got to be like very precise. And that's another reason that you don't want to just get super prosy, because you want to write very economically so that a minute of screen time is actually 1 page.
My fiance, Shane, who also today was tech on this side, as I have a new interface and headphones after last week's recording through lemon curd at the bottom of an ocean debacle. He also writes screenplays. I've gotten to read some of what he does, and it's such a different skill set
Yes.
than what I'm used to. I mean, I'm used to being very discursive and hopefully doing the show, not tell. And he is definitely tell. And it has to be that way. It seems like it's almost like when you are sitting down and changing, and this is just me from the outside, sitting down and changing position from screenwriter to prose author, like you have to adjust the knobs on the set so that you're tuning in some different kind of resolution or something. It's
Yeah.
so interesting to me that you've been doing this. You and I are both going to be at the Colorado Gold Conference next month in Denver. We're both doing the roundtable discussions where you submit your first chapter and then you and all the other people in the roundtable critique each other's. But from what I can see in the feedback, it's actually in a pretty constructive criticism, kind of safe space. I don't know about you, but it also kind of felt a little bit like submitting work to a contest and not just like, oh, here I am. We're all gonna be happy and helping each other. That's a large part of it. But there was like something contest like about creating a synopsis for, well, in my case, for a work in progress where I was like, I don't know what's happening at the end of this book, which brings me to our topic this week is the writing contest industrial complex. You and I both
Mhm.
submitted to several writing contests. You're actually a winner of an honorable mention, but still far more qualified than I am to talk about contests. And it's always timely to talk about contests because there are so many of them. They make me terribly nervous. It is hard enough for me to query, but the idea that multiple people at one time are going to be looking at my work and deciding whether or not it is deserving of a cash prize perhaps is scary.
Terrifying.
It is very terrifying. I have found a few things that have been useful about the whole contest taking process, which is that when I have a deadline, I perform better. I've always been like this. If you give me a deadline, I will push myself to meet it probably about an hour before anything is due. So that's how nerds live on the edge. It's good for me to know that I'm working towards something. And right now I have a contest that I talked about last week, the Ms. Lexia novel contest that has a deadline in the third week of September, and I am currently doing that revision of my novel, even though I'm only submitting the first, I think it's chapter or 5,000 words of it. If I win, I wanna have a full thing to be able to say, "Hey, here it's done." But the other reasons why I've wanted to apply to these contests is just this total fantasy that, "Oh, yeah, I could totally win this, and then everyone will pay attention to me, and everyone will love me, and all of the accolades that I've always deserved will be coming my way."
That's what happens when you win a contest, right?
Yeah, I mean, how have you changed? Tell us a little bit about what you have applied to so far and a little bit about what you won and what you found the experience like so far.
Yes, I entered about 20 screenwriting contests and I ended up placing about 7 times. So 2 of those were quarterfinalists, 2 of those were semifinalists, and 3 of them were finalists. And I never won, but being a finalist was pretty cool. I also submitted to about 10 or so short story contests, and I got one short story published in an anthology last year, and the other was this honorable mention in the Gutsy Great Novelist first page prize competition. In screenwriting, I submitted to a lot of contests, and I went in knowing that like I probably wasn't going to win. But I noticed that a lot of them had a long quarterfinalist list. And so if I could at least make it that far, you can claim that. I was a quarterfinalist in the whatever contest. And then you just, you rack up a certain amount of those. You can throw it on social media and people know that you're active. They're like, oh, this person is talented. They haven't heard of whatever Screencraft, Los Angeles screenplay competition, but they're like, oh, this person is winning an award, even if they don't know what it is. I started entering my screenplay because I wanted to rack up some laurels so that once I pitched it to an investor, then I could say, this is an award-winning screenplay, an award-winning story, and it gives some credibility. I didn't get to make any of those films, but I did make 2 short films, and entering those into film festivals was a very similar experience. And you're up for even more awards. So you get to be up for like best director, best music, best, whatever. Yeah. And you can win like multiple awards and not just like one award for your screenplay.
Maybe we're doing the wrong thing in writing books. Maybe we should all be writing screenplays. How did you find out about the contests that you have entered?
A lot of the ones I found for screenwriting were on Coverfly, which is no longer. They, in their email to say goodbye to everybody, suggested Film Freeway, which is for film festivals. They might also have now screenplay contests, but there's a lot of festivals where you can just submit your screenplay and they'll accept it as one of the top 10 or whatever. And then you can go to the festival. They'll give you a badge. You can go for free. You can watch whatever you want. And then you can just mingle. It doesn't matter what festival it was. If
Mhm.
you have an Instagram full of you at festivals, now you've shown people that you show up,
Right. Yeah.
that you're serious, ambitious, driven. And these are the things that like agents look for, I'm sure, because they're like, oh, this person is going to be really pitchable
Mhm.
marketing themselves. So then the publisher has to do less of that. And if everything else is equal, you write an amazing book, somebody else writes an amazing book, you both pitch to the same agent. The agent's like, oh man, both of these projects are good. They might look to your bio and be like, hey, this person shows up to industry stuff and this person doesn't. And that can give
Mhm.
you an edge. So I think there is some merit there.
To some extent, it's padding, right? You know?
Yes, padding your bio.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Right now, I've just been using Submittable. It feels kind of like Coverfly. They have a lot of contests. There's also the Submission Grinder. That's a really good one. Book contests are much cheaper than screenplay contests.
Are they really? How much do screenplay contests cost?
Oh my God, they're like $80
Oh my
plus.
god.
Yeah, and this is just a submission. This is not getting like feedback. You can add feedback normally for like $150. I did not do that very often.
Wow. Wow.
It's such a racket.
It does sometimes feel like just throwing money away. But at the same time, I don't wanna spend, $100 for feedback, especially when you're not sure what the quality of that feedback is or who is giving that feedback to you. Is it really worth that much money? I know you've had some experiences with feedback that were mixed, to be generous.
Yeah, one of the best known industry platforms is the Blacklist. A lot of people love the Blacklist. A lot of people hate the Blacklist. Wherever you stand on the Blacklist, and this is not like everybody gets terrible feedback from the Blacklist. It's just a few people have complained that when they paid for a reader, this feedback came back with an incorrect main character or an inaccurate logline. And then it had written a lot of praise in the comments, but then it had scored it low in each of the different categories. So it was just really bizarre, unhelpful, and not worth the money. And it's not cheap. That's really egregious when the reader decides to not even read it. And this is after they have been paid and nobody has any proof. But this sounds to me like ChatGPT. This
Mhm.
sounds like somebody had taken their piece and without their consent, without their permission, without their knowledge, had just like thrown it into an LLM. And I can see it from the perspective of a reader. They're not being paid to read a lot of these things. They're probably being paid like a flat fee per thing. So they
Mhm.
want to get a lot of things done as quickly as possible. And I feel like it is very tempting to just throw this person's work into ChatGPT and say, give me a log line and give me some feedback. And then it just spits it out. They rewrite it a little bit so it sounds like a human wrote it. And then they score it low across the board because if they complain about it, now they look like they're complaining about getting a low score.
Mhm. Basically, what you're saying is that capitalism sucks, and it's,
Yes.
I'm saying this as a capitalist. Capitalism does suck. I've known about the blacklist for an extremely long time. In a much former lifetime, thought that at one point I was going to be a documentary filmmaker. I was going to grad school when I got derailed by love.
Aw.
Yeah, I met someone in the UK. So I have known about the blacklist. I've known people who have submitted, done well in the blacklist, not had anything made, but used the experience to make connections with other people in the industry, which to me seems like actually a possibly more useful use of the blacklist. So much of
Yes.
this in the creative world is who you know, where they are, and how you can leverage that connection. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, you're just so wonderful and perfect and I don't care that you came from nowhere." The reality is that everybody wants to know that the money that they're going to park with you as a screenwriter, as a writer of fiction is something that is eventually going to pay out. Again, capitalism.
Yeah.
And
Well, didn't the blacklist start as
it did as a reaction to a sort of closed system in Hollywood. And it was so difficult for people outside of these closed networks to get in. This was supposed to make things democratized and easier. In a perfect world, all of these contests are helping people who may be outside of the system or outside of connections to use their raw talent, theoretically, to vault into a position where people can pay attention to them. That's a perfect world. The reality is it's not a perfect world. It's always these little variables. We can't say that it's a meritocracy just because like in anything in life, honestly, in this particularly in America, we can't say that there is such a thing as a pure meritocracy, even if that's something that we want to have.
capitalism sucks?
Capitalism does suck. But yeah, these are black boxes. We don't know what we're chucking into. The fees start adding up, the hopes start adding up, and it can be such a suck of your time and your money. I don't know about you, but when I'm getting ready for submitting to a contest, it means it's time away from creating in my work in progress or in editing. It's a detour for me. And I'm thinking, why am I actually doing this? For visibility? And who do I want to be seen by? Is it by agents that I'm querying to? So I can say, I had an honorable mention, I was a quarter-finalist, whatever. Right? Or is it that someone will spot me in this pool and go like, I like her, she's got moxie. It's not realistic. Why am I doing I don't actually have an answer for that, except for I'm doing it because I feel that I should be doing it. I don't know that that's a really good answer.
Yeah. Well, it also feels good. It feels good when you make it somewhere.
Well, you have, so I haven't.
But you will. It's a numbers game. It's also really who your reader ends up being.
Mhm.
If your judge doesn't like reading feminist screenplay and you give them a feminist screenplay, they're going to rate it a lot lower than if you get a woman who loves feminist screenplay.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
happened to me. I was in a contest where the very first round, I got a 9 out of 10. And I was in like the top, scorers. But then the second round, I got a 6 out of 10. And I can't remember exactly what the comments were now, but the first one, this person, who I assume was a woman, loved it, had so many like really nice comments. And then the second round, this person, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it felt to me like this person thought it was like too feminist in your face. I don't want this, but I do tend to write a little bit feminist.
Well,
I
you
guess.
too, you know? So essentially it was like, lady, have you considered stopping being a lady and writing about lady things?
Have you considered instead of a female main character, have you considered a male main character?
How
What an
original.
idea.
Wow.
It's so subjective. So even if you don't win awards, it probably isn't your fault. Like if you had a reader that really connected with your thing, you might have won. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I will point out that every time that I've entered a contest, I have not asked for feedback because I'm generally scared of receiving feedback. I'm afraid of hearing that I'm not connecting with people. I'm lucky in that my critique partners and my alpha readers really get what I'm doing and they understand the characters that I'm writing, the positions that I'm putting them in, and the feedback that I get is excellent. But I also know that my writing is not for everyone, just like, not every book is for every person. I don't want to allow myself to be crushed by someone who doesn't get women's fiction or upmarket fiction, particularly because some people are very dumb and think that women's fiction is not serious literature. I'm not saying I'm writing the Brothers Karamazov, but I think that what I'm writing is worthwhile of some sort of serious interaction. I want somebody who gets that I'm trying to do something that they may not do themselves. I think that if I had a contest that said, okay, here's our list of 10 people who are reading, I'd probably feel more confident, you know?
I guess I would worry that people would see that list and they would try and reach
That's a
out to
good
those
point.
people.
That's a good point. See, I'm not as shameless as that. So
Hey, George, mine is the one with the butterfly.
yeah, and that scene when they're drinking tea along the Riviera, that's me. Love me,
Yes. And here's $100.
Yes. It's like that woman who tried to bribe an official in New York with a $140 in a potato chip bag the other week. I think she was like a deputy mayor of New York City or something like that, was trying to bribe somebody else with $140 in a potato chip bag and said, "Oh, it's a cultural misunderstanding." She's Chinese, and in China, we express gratitude with cash. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So,
Mm,
um,
y
I think you're right, it does open itself up to some level of abuse, but
I mean, there's no perfect,
there isn't
system.
a perfect system, but the reality is these are money makers for a good reason. A lot of these organizations are using the money to support their publication of their own journals, which is absolutely admirable. We need
Mhm.
more outlets for independent fiction writing out there.
Absolutely.
And if that's what it takes is, throwing 20, 25, $30 down a well, hoping for the best, consider it philanthropy and, a learning experience. But at the same time, it's like, what do we get? Let's say you win. Okay. What do you get out of it? Maybe you'll get a, staggering cash prize. Maybe you'll just get publication.
Maybe you'll get introduced to an agent, but that doesn't mean they're gonna pick you up.
Exactly. Exactly. You and I were at a conference together where I met an editor who was super into my first book and was just like, "I love this book. I want to see this book. You're not going to have a hard time getting an agent at all. I totally see this. Like, come and find me." And she's now like at a big publisher right now. And I'm like, she told me that I wouldn't have a hard time getting an agent with this book. But yeah, it is, you get an introduction. What is an introduction worth? It's a foot in the door, and then you need to perform. I say this as someone who is committed to entering more contests. I've already set that as a goal for myself for 2026. I have 4 or 5 pieces of short fiction, some of which are like ready to go, and I've already submitted them in various places. I think one of the things I also worry about, worry maybe isn't the right word, is when you look at these contests and you see them as perhaps an opportunity for the platform to sell other services that the platform offers. So
Yes.
not just the feedback, which I think can be a valuable part of a submission, but the other add-ons that they said, "Well, we can do, we've got courses. But you like to attend our course?"
Book
Or
coaching.
yes, book coaching. Why am I here? And then at the same time, if I don't take up these add-ons, am I hindering myself in any way? We don't know. Again, back to the black box. We don't
Mhm.
know. It doesn't actually mean that we're gonna bump you up or anything like that, or, this is completely optional. Well, I want to believe, and because I am an extremely naive individual at times, believe it to be true. It does make you wonder, are you doing this to not only for the contest, but is the contest essentially ancillary to you selling your services? That's okay, but I wish you would be a little bit more upfront about it, but they're never gonna be because
Yeah.
again, capitalism.
Yeah, they have no incentive.
They have 0 incentive to do it. There are other kind of bad things about entering contests where it's the hit to your ego when you're rejected again and again and again. On top of getting rejected by agents, you now have an even smaller group of people who are submitting their manuscripts or chapters or 5,000 words or whatever to this group of judges that an agent is going to be seeing, and you're still shit. It's like, okay, let's make a shit sandwich. We got a slice of agent shit. Let's put in some contest jam in the middle. Slap on another layer of agent shit, smush it up. There you go. There's your shit sandwich. But, I also want to take the opportunity to say, like, how awesome it is that you did place. What was the name of the contest?
It's the Gutsy Great Novelists Page 1 prize, and, I don't mean to brag about it, but I also don't wanna diminish it because this was such a cool contest, and it like you said, it made me sit down and write. I'm just, like, so proud of this page. Like, the mindset where All I have to submit is the first page. I suddenly understand the very first page needs to be good. So to prepare for the contest, I read all of the winners and honorable mentions from last year. The Gutsy Great Novelist website had a guide that said, here are all the things that your first page should do. And I found that guide super helpful. I also noticed that a lot of the winners would end their first page on like a hook, like a cliffhanger, something really spicy that makes you want to keep reading. So I was like, okay, I have to do that too. I can't just like end it in the middle of a sentence, even though their guide did say you can just end it in the middle of a sentence because they just want the first page to be cut off. That's fine. They know it's going to be a longer piece. But I did notice that the winners ended on a nice line. So I made sure to do that as well.
And it would be really great to put a link to those guidelines in the show notes. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's good advice for any time, not just for entering that contest, but so much of querying is just trying to get someone to pay attention to what we're doing. And if we can improve that attention getting, any advice on that I think is useful. I for myself have to get over my preciousness about I am a great artiste and I shall not be corralled, and make sure that I can sell something. So yeah, I'd love to see it too. One other thing that we were talking about before is you were telling me about the short story contest that you were in.
Yes, one of the contests that I submitted to was to be part of an anthology. It was the Minds Shine Bright Confidence 2 anthology, and my short story made the long list, and then it made the short list, and these were all very exciting. And then I was chosen to be part of the anthology, and it was super cool to be published. I was like, oh my God. Like, that was probably the coolest prize, was to actually have it published in a book, got a copy of the book,
Very cool.
got some copies from my parents and my boyfriend's parents. And it's the small publisher based out of Australia, just outside of Melbourne. And they did a book launch and I
That's so
flew to
cool.
Australia. I was like, I'm not missing this for the world. This is so cool.
That
A
is so
book
awesome.
launch. A lot of the writers were from Australia. And so a lot of them were there at this thing. And then they also streamed it live on YouTube. And
Wow.
we got to like read excerpts. It was so long, we had an intermission. Tea time intermission. And they had the best little finger snacks, little sushi snacks. They had little pastry snacks, tea. They were like, oh yeah, we have to stop for tea.
Oh yes.
I guess
Oh
that's an
yes.
Australian thing.
Yeah.
Tea time.
It is
It
tea
was
time.
great. It was so much fun.
I think that's what I need to do is when I'm scouting out which contest to enter in the future, it's where I can count on having tea. I applied to a contest through the University of Bristol. I am an alumna of the University of Bristol. I was very disappointed that my alma mater overlooked my strong connections to the university and just passed me on by. But that's okay. That's okay. They're still not getting my money. It's all, water under the bridge. They would have had a good tea. They would have had an excellent tea. We had a very good tea at my graduations. But next year,
Yes.
hashtag Mo Tea, Mo Prizes.
Yes. Is it time for hot goss?
I think it's time for Hot Goss, our Book World Drama Watch. This is about people not taking advice at the beginning of their career. When you find yourself in a hole and that hole is lined with MAGA people, maybe you don't want to be in that hole if you are at the beginning of your career and nobody's read a word of your stuff. It kind of reminded me a little bit of when we were talking about Audra Winters in the first episode. Different problems altogether, but Audra Winters was at the beginning of her career. Nobody had read much or anything of her work before she put out her first novel. There is another young author whose name is Jordan Lee, who has made a bit of I don't want to call it a splash, let's call it a dent in bookish spaces this week. And kind of just in a nutshell, Jordan writes young adult dystopian fiction. She started querying in July and, by her own admission, didn't really know what querying involved. And that is not a sin.
Right.
She sent out her query packages to a bunch of agents and then got a bunch of form rejections or no responses and thought, why am I getting rejected? And after about a month, she decided that she wanted to go to Twitter and said, here are some reasons that I think I'm getting rejected. I'm not going to read them in the order that she posted them because I kind of want to put the bad one as a stinger at the end. So she said, and I'm just going to quote from her tweet here, reasons I think I'm being rejected, honestly. I wrote another young adult dystopian novel. Okay. I'm querying a debut novel that is the first in a trilogy. Yeah, that's hard. My query, letter, blurb, elevator pitch, etc., is weak. Okay. This is all good self-examination here. And then I am a straight cis white female who writes straight cis females. Huh.
Ugh.
Well, people had some thoughts. It is the internet. People are allowed to have thoughts still in this country that they may put on the internet. And said, that's kind of bigoted. I say this as somebody who writes about straight, cis females. I am also a straight, cis female. And I have mixed heritage. I'm white and I'm Latina, but I was raised in kind of a white world. So that's kind of what I know. So a lot of my characters are in that world. I never think about that as being the thing that's holding me back. If I'm not doing it, it's because there's something that isn't hitting with my package, not about me. I only just about a month ago started mentioning the fact that I am Latina because I thought, yeah, it actually is part of who I am, and maybe I shouldn't bury the lead there. But I don't think that my problems come from being a straight cis female. I think it comes because my words aren't connecting. It's the book, it's not me. So the predictable happened. A pylon, deserved, in my opinion, with the anti-pylon that comes as the backlash. The people who started showing up to support this author were the worst people in the world. And it's not the meme where, of when the worst person in the world is right about something. These people were consistently wrong about things, you're absolutely right. The reason why you're not succeeding is because you are a straight, cis, white woman in a publishing environment that completely rejects anything that isn't BIPOC, LGBTQ+. Your problem is that you are who you are. It's not your words, it's you. Comments from people who literally have never read a word of this woman's query letter or her materials. They talk about, the people who are attacking you are making it all about identity. No, I'm sorry, lady. You made it about identity yourself. Just because you're straight, cis, white, female doesn't mean that it isn't about your identity. You put it front and center. Sorry. And then the people who are coming to support her are saying, you're absolutely right. It's just so hard right now to be a straight, white, cis person. And since today is a lady podcast here, let's just say most of the people who had her back were not ladies. They were
Yeah.
gentlemen. You can click through to their profiles and everything is just terrible stuff about, women be like this. Why do they got such high standards? So much victim culture by people who, quite frankly, don't have any space to say these things.
I thought it was a bizarre thing to say, the reason that I'm not getting an agent is because I'm a white woman. It seems kind of ironic because this is the one industry that is dominantly white women.
It really is. And cis ones, too.
Yeah.
Cis and straight ones, too.
This is where she's going to have the easiest time in publishing books, so it's just factually untrue. Even with all of the agents listing that they would like LGBTQ, POC, I just don't think that those agents are rejecting people because they're white.
They're not. You can see what these agents are managing to sell. It's not hard to find this information out. All of these words that are in the manuscript wish lists that say, I want to see more from, they're not exclusive, they're inclusive. And if you aren't able to see that, I'm going to sound like a school marm here, you need an attitude adjustment.
Yeah.
I've had rejections where the agent has said, look, your work is really good, but I am really focused on doing less this year. I just don't think that I can fit you in. People only have so much bandwidth. If that means that you're not touching them all in all their happy spots, you're not going to make it. I think those first three things are probably her problem. She's in an oversaturated genre. Her query may not be up to snuff. Her debut novel is the first in a trilogy. Like, ow. My work in progress, I've thought about it as a trilogy, but I'm writing the first book as a standalone because I know it's impossible to sell a debut first novel in a trilogy. Has it happened? Yeah, it's happened, you know. Is it gonna happen to you? You should not count on these things. The other thing that she's done is when people have called her out, she's just doubled down. She won't apologize. She got close to apologizing, but when she started getting the kind of support from people saying like, "I don't think you should apologize about anything," she stopped.
Well, and in fact, she wrote in her Substack that she was not going to apologize because she had nothing to apologize for.
It's amazing. It's really
Oh boy.
amazing. Yeah.
This was a hole she could have very easily crawled out of if she just said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I wrote this out of, a moment of frustration. And
Yeah, yeah.
thank you for correcting me on it. I'm going to do better in the future." I mean, like, that's literally all she had to do. And then everyone would be like, "Great. Okay."
Yeah, she could have shut up, and even if she didn't do that reflection, she could have saved herself. She even at one point in all of these tweets, because she was tweeting through all of it, did a essentially, "I'm not racist because I have Latino people in my family. You know, I have gay friends. I'm sorry, honey.
No.
I'm sorry, honey. It doesn't
Well,
work
then
like that."
she even had an agent who liked her
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
who then unliked.
And then what's worse is the agent was actually vocal about saying, "You know what? I made a boo-boo." The agent did
Yes.
the right thing. People brought it to my attention that she'd said some problematic things that don't align with my values, so I've decided that I'm not gonna move forward. That's the way you handle it. But she just kept going on, and then after deciding that she wasn't going to apologize, she then writes a whole Substack, like, sets up a Substack account and then writes an article about her experience and how my fifis. Look, your fifis would not have been hurt if you had not set out to hurt other people in the first place. Because, oh, well, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. I only put white in there because agents put BIPOC in their bios, and I put straight because they had LGBTQ plus in their, blah, blah, blah. Lady, no. We're the default setting in this culture, whether or not that's fair, okay? For
Mhm.
for for ladies, this is default setting. I think it's crap that it is. But culturally, this is the reality. If you can't understand why it is offensive to put that in your bio, I have a whole syllabus I can give you, which you may enjoy. You may not enjoy it. I would enjoy writing it for you, but I have many, many books, accessible books of feminist theory and criticism that you may or may not enjoy. Other people are welcome to contact me for this list. I am very happy to give it to you. And it's not all women on there.
I love this list already.
I will have to come up with this list. We'll put it in the show notes. Maybe not this week's, but yeah, at some point. But I also love that the title of her Substack article is "How Did This Happen?" It's just like erasing yourself from the situation. Like, it's like mistakes were made. Who made them? This is a young writer, I believe. Her career has not yet started, but she has consciously and repeatedly selected to be in a space where she is supported by bigots, racists, homophobes, transphobes, and I cannot give her the benefit of the doubt at this time.
Yeah.
But I truly hope, and I do say this completely from a place of sincerity, I hope that she does take a step away from this for a moment and look at what is happening, because she is so at the beginning of her career. She can still save it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that she needs to go like wrap herself in a rainbow flag. She just needs to reflect on it and maybe shut up for a little bit, even if it's just to not be someone who is in the eye of the public. And by that, I also mean the people who are now starting to surround her. That is a dangerous place right now in this country at this time. The people who are supporting this are not nice people. The way things are going in this country, without getting too political, although I will get political with anybody who wants to talk to me about it, I don't think that this particular woman, from what I can see, is going to want to stay in this place. So Jordan, if you ever hear this, I'm not only happy to share my syllabus, I'll also be really happy to hear that you've taken this as a moment of reflection to think about what happened here. That mistakes were made, but who made them?
Yeah, there's still time.
Yeah, there's still time. Many of us can be redeemed. So I'm
Yeah.
sure I've said many cancelable things in my lifetime, but usually I tell Rylan not to put it in the pod. So I do. And the reason why I kind of bring this up is that with Cindy, who is a booktuber, is hysterical. If you're not watching her on YouTube, you really absolutely should. If somebody like Cindy is paying attention to this, she's got such a huge platform that I do worry for this young woman that things are going to start getting out of her control. I'm sure I'm not helping things by being here, but if you do hear this and this is me being genuine and not being snarky. I think you have an opportunity to change these things. I don't think you're a bad person at all. You said you weren't naive. I think you are naive, and that's not such a bad thing. There's a lot of hope and sincerity and naivete. Tap into it, please. So, that was another Bad Lit Friends, a very special Bad Lit Friends. Our contest worth it. What do you think?
Yeah, come up with a budget. Don't just submit to absolutely everything. Make sure what you're submitting to your material is right for. But I think it absolutely is worth it. It's what you make of it. So if you're going into contests with the idea that, oh, I'm going to win and then I can just sit back after that, probably not. Probably the contest route is not for you.
You've just rained all over my parade. No, I have really enjoyed talking to you about this because I am trying to do more and to feel a little bit more brave
Yeah.
about doing things.
Think of contests as accessories, not the main outfit.
That's a really good way. See, this is what you get when you have lady talk on Bad Lit Friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Next week, we are going to have Kirk back, allegedly. And we're going to be talking about querying. We're tentatively calling it querying for the terribly nervous. Kirk has some really great ideas on how to do this.
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I told him that he's the one who gets to write the outline this time, since I've written 5 in a row. So
Great. Yes.
make him do the work. Make the man do the
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
He's the expert on it. He can't
Yeah.
just keep all that knowledge to himself.
I know.
Share.
That's right. No siloing on Bad Lit Friends. Thank you so much again for stepping into co-host. I really do appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I hope that I was keeping the seat warm at least.
Look, when we get hate reviews, I just won't show them to you. Speaking of which, you can find us on Bluesky, Instagram, Threads. We're Bad Lit Friends everywhere. Like, subscribe, review. Go to the badlitfriends.com website. There is a form where I have told people that we accept bribes. This may or may not be true. And I may or may not be able to see comments there. I did figure out how to look at comments there. Thank you to Shane for submitting a comment that I cannot mention over the podcast because it was truly foul. I am marrying this man.
Typical Shane.
Typical Shane. Thank you again for listening to Bad Lit Friends, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.